This is Matt Hurt at Obsessive Viewer on Twitter.
This is Tiny at Obsessive Tiny on Twitter.
And this is ObsessiveViewer.com's The Obsessive Viewer Podcast. Hello, and welcome to the latest episode of The Obsessive Viewer. We're a weekly movie and TV podcast that covers a specific topic, be it genre, trope, movie, or show. Each episode, you can find back episodes at ovpodcast.com, check out the blog at obsessiveviewer.com, and check out the subreddit at r/obsessiveviewer. Tiny, how's it going, buddy?
Fantastic.
Nice.
Fantastic. Tomorrow's my Friday.
Nice. Tomorrow's my Wednesday. By the way, we're recording this on a Tuesday, guys.
Yeah.
So anyway, before we get started on this week's episode is an extended potpourri episode. And before we get started on that, I just want to let you guys know that October 16th at the Irving Theater, we are hosting Shocktober in Irvington 2. It's a one-night event screening of short horror films from local filmmakers in the Indianapolis area. We're going to be doing prizes, giveaways, interviews with the filmmakers, and, you know, a bunch of stuff. You can find more information at shocktoberinirvington.com, and where you can also buy tickets to the event. Again, that's at shocktoberinirvington.com.
Word.
Yes. Are you excited for it?
I am. Man, October just snuck up on me.
It really did.
It's next week.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's cool.
Yeah. It's terrifying.
Yeah.
You know, October, we call it Shocktober here at Obsessive Viewer. Yeah. And I did buy some Pop-Tarts that are Halloween themed, and I know, I'm terrified to eat them.
Look at this guy.
I know, it's scary. Like, I have them in a cupboard instead of like on my counter or anything.
Calm down, ladies.
Yeah, I don't. Right.
No, but I've been like skipping over the Babadook. In my Netflix queue, because I want to kick off my Shocktober with that.
Have you still not seen it?
Haven't seen it yet.
Oh my god, it's so good.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm very interested to hear what you'll think of that.
I'm curious. Curious. Yeah.
Nice. But Shocktober isn't until next week.
Yes.
Today we're doing extended potpourri, and it's funny because we both watched something last week, and I figured that we can get it kicked off with that.
I love that idea.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you. It is a brilliant idea on my part. But and really, I don't know why we're not just making this the focus of the episode, because we both watched it. But, you know, I personally have a lot of stuff to run through, so I guess it's warranted.
Yeah.
So anyway, we both went to a screening of Black Mass last week.
Yes, we did.
And this movie is the Whitey Bulger biopic starring Johnny Depp as Whitey Bulger. Bulger. I knew that. Benedict Cumberbatch as Whitey's senator brother. And Joel Edgerton as the FBI agent they grew up with. So what did you think of it? I've been interested. What did you think of it? After we left the theater, we talked a little bit about it, but how's it sat with you?
I thought it was wicked smart. No, I don't know. I really loved. I love the Boston accent. Probably my favorite, one of my favorite regional accents in America. I'm a dork.
I was just gonna say, I don't have one because
you're a normal person with a brain.
Normal person. The brain thing is
that's questionable.
That's still up in the air.
I liked it a lot.
Nice.
I thought the performances were there was not one bad performance in the whole movie. Everybody was fantastic, and the writing was really well done. It's a surprisingly tight movie. I thought it would be like have a little more action in it, a little more like killing and death, even though it had its fair share of that
stuff.
Yeah, it had its fair share of that, but it's in comparison to other gangster movies, it wasn't quite as prevalent throughout it. Which I respected that decision, because it's more. I think it gives those scenes a little more weight when you use them more sparingly, like they did in this movie.
Yeah.
It adds a little more significance to them, instead of just being a common occurrence. But I like both styles. There's nothing wrong with either of them.
Right.
But I appreciate it in this movie. And it's just an incredible story. I wonder how much of it's true and what all actually happened and how those people actually are in real life. So
I agree. I came away from the movie liking it a lot, and then as it's kind of settled with me, I've been liking it a little less here and there, but one thing that I really did take away from it, like almost immediately, was that this movie was just incredible at pulling you into the world and into that the story, basically.
Yeah.
Like, I wanted to read the book after seeing the movie, and it's funny because when we watched Straight Outta Compton, I kind of had a similar feel that it was very gripping and really great at transporting you into that world.
Mm-hmm.
And with Straight Outta Compton, it made me want to research what happened and like look up the real events and everything. With Black Mass, it made me want to like study the like instead of Wikipedia, it made me want to like read the book that it's based on.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that Johnny Depp's performance was terrific.
Yeah.
But the characterization didn't seem that strong. It's a Whitey Bulger biopic. Say that 20 times fast. But but it felt like he wasn't necessarily the focal point of it necessarily. It was more about, him and Joel Edgerton's dynamic and their history and the overarching theme of loyalty among them.
Mm-hmm.
And everything, which is fine, which was fine. Like that through line was really well done. But then you get scenes like this, like the dinner scene, where there's a scene involving groups of people, a group of people, and in it, Johnny Depp's character is very forcibly, somewhat forcibly, intimidating the people at the dinner.
Uh-huh.
And it has all the makings of a pivotal and gripping and potential iconic scene.
Mm-hmm.
But I felt like it wasn't. It kind of came out of nowhere. I don't feel like Whitey was followed closely enough to make that scene be the pivotal moment that it was supposed to be. It in isolation was a very, very gripping and disturbing scene, and very unsettling. But in the context of the movie, it didn't feel like it was quite built toward well enough. How did you feel about it, Tiny?
I get what you're saying. Yeah, it kind of its placement in the story was kind of strange.
Mm-hmm.
Like it would have made sense in the chronology of the story. It would have made sense much more early on.
Yeah.
In the story. So yeah, I get that. I didn't notice that when I was watching it, but now that you say it, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's funny because when we left the theater, I think I mentioned like something along those lines as we were leaving the theater. But I do remember like thinking during that scene, like, okay, well, where is this really coming from? Because this kind of out of left field. And then there was a scene later that I don't remember the exact context, but I remember thinking like, oh yeah, okay, that's why he did that before. And it just felt like maybe if those scenes were swapped or that feeling was swapped, like I felt like maybe that seemed like a situation in which Whitey is cornered and needs to do that. But there was nothing preceding that moment to make me feel like he was cornered.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. I think he's just always he's just one of those people who's always on the defensive.
Yeah.
I guess you could say.
Well, like I'm not like one of those people, Tiny.
No.
Just kidding, guys.
But I don't know. Like I said, that didn't take me out of the movie or anything, and
okay.
it didn't ruin anything. But I see what you're saying, and I love that scene. I thought it was. I thought it had potential to be iconic, and time will tell with that. But I thought it was really good. I just love the performance. It was so eerie. You mentioned Johnny Depp's performance. This is his best performance in a decade, probably.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, his original Pirates of the Caribbean performance was very good, but I think this is better than that. I'm trying to think of the last time Johnny Depp was this good.
I'm off the top of my head. I'm trying to think of it too, but I can't.
Yeah, I don't know. He was fantastic, and I give a ton of credit to the production side of the movie because the settings and the
like set design.
The set design, thank you. The set design was all fantastic. The costumes was terrific, and the makeup, they made Johnny Depp look older, and I mean he looked like a walking corpse almost.
He did,
because he had those like gray blue eyes, and his hair was just slicked back and receding, and it's just not a side of Johnny Depp that we've really seen. he tends to be, with some exception, he tends to be a relatively well put together person in a lot of his movies. Of course, there are exceptions, but I don't know. There's so much focus on how attractive of a man he is, and he seemed to just completely put that to the wayside with this performance because he was just an eerie looking man throughout this whole movie.
Absolutely. I mean, and I'm looking at his filmography, and man, there's not really much that I've seen, at least, that or not much in his repertoire recently that stands out to me as something that I wanted to see or something that I'd seen and liked. I mean, he had like Tusk, which is a movie I didn't like, and I thought that his performance in it was strong, but it was not in the right movie.
Yeah.
And it was just, that was more a fault of Kevin Smith than anything. But and then like that same year he had Transcendence, which was a disaster.
That was not a good movie.
Yeah. He was in The Lone Ranger. I didn't even see that. Yeah. So man, it's really satisfying to see him kind of come back from, I wouldn't say obscurity, because he's worked steadily, and he's worked in high profile movies too. I mean, The Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus. I think he was one of Heath Ledger's replacements, right?
Yeah.
And then Public Enemies and The Tourist. I think he was actually nominated for a Golden Globe for The Tourist, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so. Yeah. Ricky Gervais had a field day with that one.
Yeah, it was nominated as like a comedy or something too.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah. So that's good. What did you think of Joel Edgerton? Because I loved his performance and everything, but it's funny because I haven't seen him in much of really anything else except for Star Wars Episode 2.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I loved his performance. I did not like the writing. I don't like I just didn't really care that much for the way they chose to structure that character, because I think he just got far too brazen with his basically his cover up.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it got to the point where he had this symbiotic relationship with the character's named John Connolly. He had this symbiotic relationship with Whitey Bulger, and it was giving him a big head, and his ego was growing, and he was just, once he got promoted, he became, in his own eyes, untouchable, and so he kind of flaunted the fact that he's the guy who, helped bring down La Cosa Nostra, at least in Massachusetts anyways. So he's this big wig, and he has this untouchable notion and this attitude, and it just seems so idiotic. Like, who would do that? And he just, like, when the new there's a new character who shows up. There's a new district attorney in the area, and he's like a real bulldog and all that. And he just walks into his office and offers him tickets to the Red Sox game, and it's like,
well, he was trying to get on his good side.
I know, but it was just like, it was so clumsy and stupid. It was like, why would you do that? Like, work your way in a smart way. And it's like, he just had this ridiculous swagger about him throughout the movie. The character did that I just really didn't. I really couldn't appreciate. He was just like lazy and just too open and brazen with his illegality, basically. I thought it was just, I can't imagine somebody being that stupid.
Right.
And it obviously caught up to him.
Yeah.
It was frustrating for me.
I agree, and I think that's indicative of the overall writing of the movie, actually, because it was, if you go back to my complaints about that dinner scene, like, that scene in isolation is good, but it wasn't built up well enough, and juxtapose that with Joel Edgerton's entire character arc through the movie, it seemed like the movie had a certain identity crisis in what it wanted to be. Parts of it wanted to be a Whitey Bulger biopic. The other wanted to be this statement about these two men's loyalty to one another, and then how one of them would go above and beyond to protect the other, and stuff like that. And the result is a kind of muddled half biopic, half gangster loyalty movie. And I felt like if there was more focus on one of those segments, and that was made more the focal point. Like, if we had started with maybe the Bulgers and John Connolly,
Mm-hmm.
as kids growing up, and then see their friendship and their relationship throughout the years, that would be stronger. Instead,
Yeah.
it was just kind of a muddled, kind of a mess.
Yeah. It lacked balance in that respect, and
Yeah.
that's a good point. I think that foundation would have been good to see.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of reminisced about it in dialogue, but to use your term, that breaks the show us, don't tell us rule.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, there was a lot of talking about loyalty,
Yeah,
as opposed to demonstration.
Oh yeah, and it could have been answered so well with just a bit of expository, even flashbacks, or
Right.
open with an expository flashback showing them or something like that. Maybe that might be a little sloppy and a little clumsy and everything, but it would get the message across.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, with the, his brazen antics in his actions throughout the movie, it's I do want to see. I would like to know what it was, because it seems like that was almost like, I wonder if he was that brazen with that, or if this was like a screenwriting kind of like, okay, well, we need to condense his actions, so let's make these big things, and like kind of just I don't want to say amateur, but maybe make it like a really kind of weak screenwriting technique, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know who wrote it, so.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think overall, I'd probably give the movie like a soft 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I probably would too. Probably 7.5.
Okay. Yeah, it has a very good chance of making my top 10. We'll see.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't know. Probably in the high numbers.
Mm-hmm. The cast was amazing. Also.
So good. Such a great cast.
Yeah, Landry from Friday Night Lights. Jesse Plemons.
Yeah, Jesse Plemons.
Yeah, he was good, and I kind of wish he had more to do. I kind of wish everyone had a little more to do.
Yeah.
Peter Sarsgaard was fantastic. He was actually he was awesome. And you mentioned Corey Stoll's character, the district attorney guy.
Mm-hmm.
I wish he had more to do. He's kind of introduced and then kind of just didn't really do anything.
Right. Same thing with Juno Temple. The stepdaughter of the main enforcer guy, or
that
whatever.
was Juno Temple. Okay.
Yeah, like she's not that famous, but I knew who she was right away, and I was like, oh, it's Juno Temple, and like she has 1-2 scenes.
Yeah.
And one of them,
and the introduction of her is just insane. Like, it's such a kind of throwaway thing. It's like, maybe we should know a little bit more about this relationship here.
Yeah. I loved the scenes. I thought they were fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
And the acting, I even thought the writing was good. It just, again, the placement and the structure was kind of weird.
Yeah.
And just the fact that they used Juno Temple for that tiny role was just kind of odd. There was another great conflict scene between Joel Edgerton's character and Benedict Cumberbatch's character that I thought was really well done. And as I was sitting there watching it, I kind of fell out of the movie, and I was like, that's so insane that we're watching a British dude and an Australian dude go at it in Boston accents, and they're like nailing it.
Yeah.
I was like, that's just freaky. Like,
oh yeah.
That's just so common anymore.
Right.
Have these like British or Australian or wherever actors just absolutely knock out these regional American accents and just like play these hardcore Americans to a T. It's just I think it's exciting and it's fun. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's just I just notice it so much now.
And I wish that we could reciprocate, like American actors can reciprocate with strong British accents or foreign accents.
Right.
But lest we aren't that bloody good at it. But yeah, and kind of closing thoughts on Black Mass. There was kind of the frame story of the movie, or the kind of, it's introduced as kind of flashbacks from what it seems to be near present day, and it kind of jumps back to those through different characters' perspectives. It's kind of like a True Detective season 1 kind of vibe from it, and I wish that there was more of a through line with that kind of thread. And that kind of, I wish that had more of a payoff than what we got, because it's kind of just, I was anticipating the movie transitioning to like, present day or whatever causes the scenes we're seeing in the opening of the movie, but that never really came.
No.
And I understand that the way that Whitey Bulger's story ends is kind of I haven't looked into it, but I think that they were filming it when certain things happened, or they were it's not something that was like set in stone once they had finished it, or maybe I'm pulling that out of my ass, and it was kind of completely laid out. But I feel like the end scene was just kind of rushed.
It was.
Yeah, it's kind of like a really any biopic or historical thing. It's kind of like, oh, this is what everything happened on screen with words and stuff.
Yeah, I wasn't crazy about it. I mean, it did seem rushed. I agree.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's Black Mass. I said 7.5/10. You said 8.
A soft 8.
Soft 8.
I'd like to see Johnny Depp get an Oscar nomination though.
Oh, nice.
I thought he was just great.
Yeah, I would. We'll see. Yeah, I think he was great. We'll see.
Okay.
So yeah, this is extended potpourri. Let's do this.
Yeah.
Creep. It's a movie.
Yes.
I watched on Facebook. Wow.
Wow.
It's a movie that I watched on Netflix. It's found footage horror movie, mumble gore, the horror aspect of mumblecore. I don't like those words. I just something about the words. I just don't like them. But anyway, it's a found footage mumble gore horror movie about a man who takes an ad to document an eccentric dying man, played by Mark Duplass.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and I can't remember if Mike mentioned this on the podcast when he came back for a few episodes, or if he mentioned it in our pod chat, but I talked to him a little bit about it via Twitter, I think, and he liked it, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. I thought that it was a Mark Duplass in particular. He played a really convincing, like, odd and kind of unsettling guy. Throughout the movie, he's kind of this wiry, like I'm having you document my life because I'm dying, and this is for my son, and he's trying. It's like he's putting on a brave face, but you can tell that there's a mask to him, that there's something not right with him. Yeah, and it's funny because I tweeted this. There's a point where he's in a bathtub, and the guy's filming him in the bathtub, and this is gonna sound weird, but it's like he's pretending to give an invisible son a bath, basically.
Wow.
Yeah, and the look on his face, like I actually have a freeze frame of it. It's so goofy looking, but anyway, so the movie itself, it kind of leads you into this really creepy kind of story, and the ending is the most effective part of it. It ends on a very just really disturbing note, and the ending was very effective, but the lead up to it, the movie really relied way too much on jump scares.
That's too bad.
Yeah, for the first 45 minutes to an hour of the movie, and it's a less than 90-minute movie. I counted a minimum of 5 jump scares that are literally Mark Duplass jumping out of frame into frame to startle the guy that's filming him.
Jeez.
In a jovial manner.
Ugh.
And it was, I mean, I jumped each time, but it was like, come on, really?
Yeah.
But when you get past that, the meat of it, the way that that Mark Duplass's character acts for the camera and to the guy are both unsettling enough that it's a worthy experience to watch the movie.
Okay. So it's definitely like a horror, scary movie.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It's more thriller than horror, but
okay.
The kind of button on the end of it solidifies it as just a really disturbing movie. And I will say this: the kind of money shot of the movie, for lack of a better word, is really, really effective. Like, it's still in my head now.
Wow.
But had the movie has like a little bit of a a coda at the end of it after that.
Okay.
And if the scene ended on the money shot like that, I would have just really I've been disappointed with the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But that final scene kind of puts it all into perspective for me. I don't know if that's. I hope that's not saying too much. I don't think it is, but it was an enjoyable movie.
Mm-hmm.
I'd recommend it.
Cool.
Yeah, and I'll go ahead and go again since White God. For my notes, I have the titles and I have like a little logline description of the movies. And before I wrote out the actual description for this, I wrote out dogs. So it just said White God and description dogs. But it's a Hungarian drama about a girl trying to find her dog after her father sets him loose. The trailers are deceptive. It's
really?
It's kind of played up in the trailers like a zombie attack kind of thing, but with dogs instead of zombies. Not like infected dogs, just dogs attacking humans. That's not what the movie's about, though. It's a strong allegory for like race relations, but as a fable between humans and dogs. It's actually like there's scenes where, and this is my takeaway from it. At least I don't know how intentional this is, but it seemed kind of overt. But dogs dogs need to be registered, and if they're not registered, they go into camps and not camps, but kennels, kill shelters. Where they will die, and it's kind of it's very strong echoes of like Nazism and concentration camps and stuff like that. It's very bleak. But the heart of the story, Tiny, did you ever see the movie Bingo?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice. From the early 90s, early to mid 90s? Yeah. About the dog who loses track of his family and...
Yeah, I don't really remember it, but yeah.
Yeah, the dog, the family moves and the dog gets away from them or something, or runs away or something, and then he travels across the country to find them. It's kind of the same thing.
Oh, really?
But not really. Not really, but they're both like the little girl's trying to find the dog, but it's a more like it's if Bingo got turned around into dog fighting. But
gotcha.
But the movie is really emotional though. It's kind of tough to watch at times. But all I can say about it is it's a smart satire, and also it's really impressive. Like while watching it, all I thought was, I respect the hell out of anyone who can shoot a movie or direct a movie with that many dogs in the mix, because because according to IMDb trivia, this movie boasts 274 dogs.
Good Lord.
Used in the production, which according to IMDb again is most dogs ever used in a feature film.
Jeez.
Yeah. So
that's crazy.
Yeah, so that's White God. It's kind of an overt kind of fable or overt satire of race relations and kind of really dark subtext, but and it's kind of tough to watch, but it's an emotional journey and worth seeing. I think it was really interesting.
Cool.
Yeah.
Is that also on Netflix?
It is. Last I checked.
Nice.
So what do you got for us?
I'm going to start out with something that I think complements Black Mass very nicely.
Nice.
It's the 2015 Cinderella.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to. Shocker! You're gonna have to walk me through this because I have not seen it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's. I mean, I watched it last night actually.
Mm-hmm.
My girlfriend, like, her favorite Disney movie when she was a kid was Cinderella.
Oh, nice.
And so she's like, I really want to see this, and I was like, yeah, I'll watch it. It's got Rob Stark in it, so.
Nice.
Like,
oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't remember the actress who plays Cinderella. She's pretty unknown. She was fine, but yeah, the movie was. I mean, it's pretty much what I expected. It was visually pretty impressive. Again, the costumes and everything, and the set design was actually like really well done. It was filmed pretty well. The performances were all, what I expected. That nothing stood out really.
Mm-hmm.
Cate Blanchett plays the evil stepmother. And she's very good as an antagonist. She's always great, and she did pretty well in this. She didn't have a ton to work with really. As far as the script goes. It was a pretty vanilla script. I didn't think there was anything that stood out very well. But we're talking about a Disney movie. I mean, it's not
right.
It's pretty standard. It was a very standard movie. That's how I would put it. But it's. I don't have a ton to say about it. I think it's if you're a fan of the original, the animated version from the 50s or 60s or whenever, check it out. The parallels are interesting to watch. All of the magic and stuff was pretty cool. I love the visuals they used. But I mean, it was just such a recycle of the first one that it's like there's nothing that really can shock you or really like draw you in and make you love it, because like you already if you love the original, you love it. If you don't, you don't. And it's like this doesn't do anything to sway those opinions either way. It was just a pretty standard movie, and you knew exactly what you were going to get. It was fine. I'd probably give it like a 6, 5.5, 6 probably. I don't know why I feel the need to put numbers on everything lately.
Right.
But that's probably what I'd give it. I mean, it's just I just kind of watched it with minimal interest.
Nice.
Yeah.
I assume, and this won't be a spoiler, but does Rob Stark have a happy ending in this movie?
Yeah, he does.
Good.
He does. It's kind of typecast.
Yeah.
Played two princes who become kings.
Right.
Yeah.
The King in the North. Anyway, directed by Kenneth Branagh.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
I assume that's where a lot of the quality came from.
Right.
Because he's a good director, obviously.
Nice.
So yeah, Cinderella.
Sweet.
Not a whole lot to say about it.
Cool. I will rush out to see that. So my next one, I think, Tiny, I think that you've seen this, and I think that you've brought it up on a potpourri, but I ran a search through obsessiveviewer.com where all the show notes are and everything for the podcast, and I couldn't find it where you saw it, or if you talked about it. So maybe I'm mistaken.
I'm intrigued now.
It's The Woman Who Wasn't There.
The Woman Who Wasn't There. Why does that sound familiar?
Well, I'll tell you, Tiny. It's a documentary about Tanya Head, a woman infamous for lying about surviving the 9/11 terrorist attacks.
Yes, I saw that.
Okay, I thought so. And
I don't think I brought it up on the podcast.
Okay. Huh, interesting.
But I know we talked about it in person.
Nice.
Yeah,
okay, cool.
yeah.
I don't remember any of that conversation.
Nice.
But I kind of want to put in perspective my reason for watching this, because I'm not, if you listen for a while, you know that I'm not really one to seek out documentaries or anything.
Mm-hmm.
That's more Tiny's area.
Shtick.
Yeah, so recently, I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Steve Renazaragi, from The League.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I can't think of what his name is.
Yeah. Anyway, recently it came to light that Steve Renazizi. I'm probably butchering that last name, but who knows? Maybe he lied about it. But anyway, it came to light that he's famous for The League. He's Kevin in The League. He apparently, when he was 24, it was 2001, and he worked in New York City. And so when 9/11 happened, he moved out to Los Angeles with his wife, and it became like he started telling people that he was in the towers,
right,
when they were struck. And he concocted this whole story about how he worked in Merrill Lynch in the office in the World Trade Center. I think it was the South Tower, the one that got hit second. And he made up this whole story. He wasn't even in, he didn't work in that section of New York.
Uh-huh. And
so it kind of came to light recently that he was lying, because apparently Merrill Lynch didn't even have offices there. And yeah, so that kind of put it in my head, and this might be a little bit of a tangent, but I will say that I kind of I don't respect, but I kind of appreciate the way that he came forth about it, because he had a statement where he was like, "Listen, I was a kid. I don't know why I lied about it, but I did, and I just kind of just wanted it to, I didn't want it to come out or anything, so I just." it made it sound like he just kind of wanted it to go away
Mm-hmm.
once he realized how horrible of a person he was for lying about it.
Yeah.
But it's funny because he's like, there's interviews where he brings it up and he mentions it on, like, he mentioned it on WTF with Mark Maron as soon as like a couple years ago.
Oh man.
Yeah, and it's just it's something else. I can't fathom why someone would do that with any kind of tragic event of any kind, like to insert themselves after the fact into that scenario is just really borderline sociopathic, really.
Yeah, it's unforgivable.
Yeah. So, in light of those events, I watched The Woman Who Wasn't There, which, as I said before, is a documentary about Tanya Head, who she was a woman who said that she was a survivor of the terrorist attacks. She said that she was in the South Tower. She said, not only that, she said that she was in the, like, around, like, one of the floors that were the point of impact for the plane.
Right.
And, like, she had this whole story where, it's just, I don't want to spoil it because I want people to see this documentary because it's, well, I guess I recommend it. I'll get into that in a second, but I'm kind of all over the place. I apologize, but overall, the documentary is disturbing and just really rage-inducing. Because take what Steve Renazizi did and just multiply it 10, 20-fold.
Yeah.
Because she invented, she took a survivor, or she took the name of someone who died and said that he was her fiance and that they were supposed to be married in New York in October.
Yeah.
And that she, like, it goes to so many different layers to this just really pathological lie.
So much detail and yeah.
And it's a really fascinating documentary in that they originally conceived it from what I read. They conceived it as a kind of checkup on the survivors of the 9/11 survivors, kind of a documentary about the survivors. So there are scenes in the documentary that show her, perpetuating the lie and telling her story to the camera for the documentary. And it's so, the opening of the documentary is just really, like I said, rage-inducing because she's making up, she's spouting off these comments about survivor's guilt and about everything, and like it's juxtaposed with like actual survivors that she knows and she knew, talking about it, saying, like, completely contradicting her purported feelings because she's not having an honest bout with survivor's guilt or anything. Like there's one example I'll give of that because I'm kind of rambling here, is that she says that she has people come up to her and ask her, what happened and how their loved ones died. And she says in the documentary, she's like, and I don't say anything because, I mean, who wants to talk about body parts and stuff? Which to first say that so just nonchalantly and everything, but also, like, it's a very therapeutic and common trait with survivor's guilt, saying that, they want to know how their loved ones died, and it's so just out of her line of thinking that it sticks out so much. So the documentary I thought was good. Even though she obviously wasn't going to be involved with the making of it or anything, I do wish that there was more detail about the psychological implications of her and of this trait, this pathological lying that she had and everything. Because it's clearly like some kind of mental disorder. Like I would have loved them to go into depth about the psychology behind it, because this is a sort of behavior that people have. I can't wrap my head around how pathological it is.
Yeah, she essentially just lies to get. I think she lied to get attention, and the thing is, everyone does that, but she took it to such an extreme that it's vastly immoral. It's vastly immoral to capitalize on people's grief for your own gain or your own benefit.
And like you said, it's all attention. It's like
Right.
she got no financial gain out of it.
Right.
It was just,
Mhm.
it was, I can't understand that
Yeah.
at all.
I don't know. It blew me away too. I thought it was a really good documentary as well. I remember most of it too. Yeah, I was sickened by it.
Yeah.
I mean, I just who the hell would do that? It's just awful.
Yeah. It's,
but also fascinating to see unfold.
yeah.
At the same time, I mean, I would have rather had it not happen than happen, but it's going to happen. It's interesting to watch.
Right.
It's a terrible thing to say, but yeah, it was an awful thing, but I think the filmmakers captured it pretty well.
Yeah. Yeah. And maybe I wasn't giving them enough credit there, but I do think that they captured the flip side of them not examining at a clinical level the what I can only say is a mental disorder. It has to be.
Yeah.
The flip side of that is that they captured like just honesty, like the honest way. Like there's a scene where one of the people of the organization are talking to a tour, a walk of the tour of the sites of 9/11 and everything. So he's speaking and he's talking about the organization that she's like the figurehead of.
Right.
And he's saying like, oh, this is such a great organization, and what's great about it is no one's at the top of it. Everyone works together and everything. And he says it so compassionately and so honestly. And like just in that same frame, you can see her in the frame. You can see her look up at him like with this kind of scornful like I gotta knock this guy off this organization.
Yeah.
And it's just and then she conspires to get him kicked out of the organization.
Yeah.
It was amazing. I love that kind of style there. It was very honest, kind of in the trenches, as it were.
Mm-hmm.
I just kind of wish that there was more of a clinical view of
Yeah.
the disorder,
A diagnosis, if you will. And
Yeah.
True.
yeah, like talking heads of people in like psychiatrists and stuff.
Right.
I mean, that would have been most satisfactory. But,
Yeah.
So crazy. Yeah, and the other thing I want to bring up in this turn is on a much lighter note, review on Comedy Central. Are you familiar with this show, Tiny?
I've never watched it, but I've seen previews for it and stuff.
Watch 3 episodes.
Yeah.
Watch the first 3 episodes. Like, seriously.
Yeah.
And if you're not hooked on it, then it's just not for you. But you will be hooked on it because it's so good.
Nice.
For our listeners, Review is a remake of an Australian series. And in it, Andy Daly plays Forrest McNeil, a life critic who reviews real life experiences despite how it affects his own life. And oh my God, it's so funny, but it's got this emotional kind of emotional subtext to it, or this emotional through line throughout the entire season. I only watched the first season. I watched it all on Hulu. And first of all, Andy Daly's amazing. He plays Forrest McNeil, and he plays the character as in such a unique way, because it's a ridiculous premise. Like, the guy's reviewing life events. Like anyone, it's as if it's a show, or it's as if it's a review show. But it's not like he, when he leaves the set to go do these reviews and everything, he interacts with his private life, but they don't really call attention to the show that he's doing. So it's kind of it's an interesting concept. It's that he's doing the show, like the start of the episode, and each episode covers 2 to 3 topics that he reviews. So like one episode is pancakes, and that's probably a bad example, but he's saying like, yeah, you need to the tweet says or something that what it would be like to eat 15 pancakes. So he goes and he does that, but I'm jumping around on my notes and everything, but also like the other topics he covers is drug addiction. What would it be like to go to space?
Oh my God.
Be in an orgy.
Oh my God.
And all of these things that he does have repercussions and impact on his personal life. So, and like while the show is hilarious, it's the emotional toll that the reviews take on Forrest that absolutely hooked me in this episode, into this show. Like I said, it's a ridiculous world and a ridiculous premise, but seeing how he reacts to reviewing things, and how he reacts to those things damaging his life is hands down the best part of it. Andy Daly does a phenomenal job of cultivating this character that his actions are so dictated by the show that he's doing, the reviews that he's doing, is that it's not like he struggles with. No, it's not necessarily that he doesn't struggle with having to do things that are out of the realm of his personal life. It's that he gets the assignment and it's like, okay, well, I got to do this. It's no like way around it or anything. It's just he's got to do it, and then it gets to such a bizarre place. And the thing that I really liked is that it's somewhat serialized in the way that his personal life is affected throughout the whole season. Yeah, and like I said, episode 3, it's the most surprisingly poignant episode. It'll hook you on the series and hook you on Forrest's story, and it's really funny. I highly recommend it. Like seriously, watch it. Like when you get home.
Wow.
Yeah. The first season is on Hulu. I don't know if. Yeah, you'll probably find it on demand or something.
Yeah.
But what
sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's really good. The trivia for it on IMDb says that it's based on an Australian show. But the trivia said that the Australian show, quote, pushed the envelope so far that it got banned. But I can't find anything on the internet to corroborate that.
Huh.
So that's likely not the case. But
okay.
I did notice just gazing at the descriptions of the Australian show, they do stuff like they cover like episodes like murder and
Jeez.
stuff like that, and like the craziest thing that they do in season 1 of this version is be on the run from the law or drug addiction or orgies or
right.
Wow. Yeah, but it's fantastic. I watched like the entire first season in like a day and a half.
Jeez.
Yeah, it was really good.
Awesome.
Yep. So what's your next one?
My next one is I watched the movie Get Hard, which my girlfriend and I were just in the mood for a silly comedy, and so I figured that would be a good one, and it was surprisingly fun and palatable. I thought it was going to be. I'm just not sold on Kevin Hart. I mean, so many people just love that guy. And I think he's funny, but I think he's so much better as a supporting actor. Mm-hmm. I feel like he fills those roles so much better than some of his other stuff. Like what was the one Ride Along with Ice Cube? I really didn't think that was a very good movie. And
I never bothered to see it.
Yeah, I didn't think he was very good in it, to be honest. I'm not quite sold on him yet. But I think the fact that in this movie he was kind of the co-star to Will Ferrell was much better. I thought he was stronger in that kind of role. Whereas in Ride Along he's the main character and he's taking on most of the responsibility of carrying the movie. But in this one, Will Ferrell, who is widely practiced in carrying a film, right, takes on a lot of that. And so I thought the fact that they shared it was much better in this movie, and it created environments for better comedy. And I thought it was funny. I mean, it's again predictable in certain respects, but just really fun. It was just a fun movie. There's some classic comedy in there, some stuff that's hilarious, but there's not a ton of it. It's not one of the best comedies I've seen or anything like that. But I think it's worth a watch. It's funny, especially some of the stuff where, I mean, Will Ferrell like almost joins a gang, like a streak, like he almost bloods into a gang. Jesus. It's just like it's so funny. So yeah, there's some good stuff in there, and it's of course it's an absolutely ridiculous, preposterous notion
Right.
for a movie, but it's fun, so that's all that really matters.
Cool. So would you recommend it then?
I would, yeah. Again, it's not going to make a top 10 list. It's not great, but it's a pretty good comedy.
Nice.
Pretty good comedy, yeah. You have to turn off your brain a little bit.
Sure.
But you can have a good time with it if you go into it with the right expectations.
Nice. I wonder if it's on HBO Go.
I don't recall. We rented it off of Uverse.
Oh, nice.
So same with Cinderella.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I might check it out. I kind of the trailers for it didn't really do much for me, but it's funny. I've found myself more often than not being really in the mood for just dumb comedy lately, and that sounds like it would be right up my alley.
It will do that. It will fulfill that role.
Yeah, and I think it's a mark of growth that I didn't ask you if I'm not going to make that joke.
Oh, no.
Yep. So my next one, and no one will ever know.
Oh, no.
My next one is Hannibal. Recently canceled by NBC.
Yeah.
And I've only watched the pilot episode, so this will be short and sweet. But and this is going to be a lot of just parroting what other people have said about it in like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
But I am so surprised that level of violence is depicted on network TV.
Oh, really?
It's and I've heard people say that so many times, but I did not expect that.
Nice.
There's a lot of blood. There's a lot of gore.
In a good way, though?
In a good way. Oh yeah. The pilot episode is very good. Of course, it takes the iconic character of Hannibal Lecter, and it's set before like Red Dragon and before Manhunter. It's basically Will Graham is I think he's like a professor or something, and his whole thing is that he empathizes with the killers to an emotionally draining degree.
Mm-hmm.
So there are these really interesting sequences where he's in the world or he's in the mind of the killer. So like the series opens with him at a crime scene, and he's like does like the way that the scene is filmed changes. It's like filtered a little bit, and it's from the perspective of the killer, and it's his voice saying like all the things that the killer said, and it's very disturbing. It's the imagery is really disturbing, and it's about midway through the episode, at least it's seen that way, that we're introduced to Hannibal Lecter, and my God, the introduction of Hannibal Lecter to this series is so satisfying.
Nice.
And it's the way that his character is introduced is he's just, and this is spoiler, I guess, but it's the pilot episode of a show that's already been canceled and this aired 2 or 3 years ago. Will Graham discovers that the killer that they're chasing is a cannibal, and so the scene ends with him saying like, I think he's eating them or something, and then just a cut to Hannibal Lecter, played by Mads Mikkelsen, preparing dinner, and he's sitting at a table, and he's just carefully like taking a bite of just a very, very nicely like gourmet looking meal of meat. And it's so satisfying. And what's great is that I don't think he's not the, like, it's a cop, he's not, that's not who they're chasing. That's not like the through line of the series. That's not the way the series unfolds from the pilot. So it's just a nice, an interesting juxtaposition of playing up the legacy of Hannibal Lecter in that opening scene, that first scene we see him, this incarnation of him is just, like, I had to give props to. I think Brian Fuller is the guy that created it. And the rest of the episode is pretty good. It's really good, actually. It's kind of and this is what's kind of kind of why I haven't watched more of it, because it kind of feels like it'd be like a procedural kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which I'm so tired of cop procedurals, but
yeah.
But yeah, and there's another scene later though that will probably make me go back to it now that I'm thinking about it. So I'm gonna dig more into it and watch some more and see what I think about it. But so far, good strong start for Hannibal. Shame that I'm part of the problem and watching it after it's been canceled.
Well,
yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, I've heard a lot about it, but I don't know. I of course was against the fact that it's a network show.
Right.
You know,
yeah.
I was like, if it was cable, I'd probably give it a shot, but I might watch it eventually.
Yeah, it would be interesting to as an experiment to show you the pilot, like somehow show you the pilot without telling you if it's network or cable, to see if you could decide which was which. Because I would honestly, the amount of gore and violence and everything, I really don't think it's really distinguishable as network or cable.
Nice. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Kudos. Let's see. My next one is I watched recently. I watched Saint Vincent, starring Bill Murray and what's her name?
Michelle or Melissa McCarthy.
Yeah,
there you go.
Melissa McCarthy. Yeah. I recently watched that, and we were in the mood for comedy again. My girlfriend loves comedies. It's like what she wants to watch more than anything else, and that's fine. I love that. Sometimes I want to watch a drama though, and at the time I still have not seen Mad Max Fury Road yet.
Me neither.
And it's driving me nuts. Like I've been like
it's driving you nuts. Because cars.
Jesus. It's furying me nuts.
Oh. You're better than that.
I am. Anyway, so I was like, let's watch that, and because she'll watch an action movie, and she's like, I just don't. No, I can't right now. I was like, all right, and so I settled on a dramedy, Saint Vincent dramedy. And so I mean, I think that's important to bring up, is that people who are looking for a hilarious comedy, you're not really going to find it in this movie. Okay. It really falls. I don't know if it falls straight into the drama or the dramedy category, but it plays with that line, because there's some really funny stuff in it. Of course, you're going to get that with Bill Murray. He's just a comedic genius. But I think the quality of the film is in how endearing it is, and how touching it is, and how much you relate to the character, and you really feel the character's emotions throughout the movie. Through both Bill Murray and the boy, who's the kind of the main character, the young boy who the premise of the film is that there's Melissa McCarthy moves in next door to Bill Murray, and he's kind of an old hermit, a crotchety old curmudgeon, and her young son kind of befriends him, and he ends up being a babysitter for the boy, kind of in a de facto way. And it goes from there, and it's not super original. It's kind of a Dennis the Menace, Mr. Wilson type deal going on, but a little less slapsticky. So like I said, it's not super original, but I think the writers and the actors and everyone really made it their own, the formula, if you will. And it was just a really fun movie. I really had a good time with it. The acting again is great. Bill Murray he used a certain inflection and an accent. He used an accent and a certain inflection on his voice, and his voice is just unrecognizable.
Really?
Like I was like, is that Bill Murray's voice? What? Wow! Did someone dub him? What the hell? And so he delivers a great performance in that respect. I think more than anything though, the standout is the young boy. I wish I had looked up his name.
I was going to ask you how he was, because I know that we here at Obsessive Viewer are a little on the fence about child actors.
We are. Me especially. I'm very harsh.
Yeah. And the actor's name is Jaden Lieberher.
Yeah, him.
Jaden. Sorry. Jaden spelled Jaeden.
Jesus. Okay.
No, Jaden. Sorry. Go ahead.
He was a standout.
Nice.
I really appreciated what he did. He kept up with Bill Murray toe to toe. I was really impressed with that. Great performance on his part. And Melissa McCarthy was good. It was refreshing to see her do something different, play not the same character again.
Right.
Which I think she plays that character well, and it's funny every time, but it's getting a little old.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So St. Vincent was great. I really, yeah. I mean, I not only did I get choked up I cried. This was such it struck a very emotional chord, and I think that was intentional. And I just thought it was great. I really loved the emotional level they achieved with the film was really good.
Wow.
Oh no.
So you cried and everything. How does Paige feel having a girl roommate again? So anyway,
Jesus.
I'm not even
I'm gonna tell her that she's gonna beat you up.
that's not even a type of joke I would make. Anyway, it's funny that Jaden kid, I can't remember his last name, but I feel like that it's cool to see that he did so well because he's got a lot of work lined up. He was in that Cameron Crowe movie Aloha, I think.
Oh yeah. Huh.
Yeah, and he's also in 9 episodes of Masters of Sex.
Wow.
I think it's on Showtime.
Showtime, yeah.
Yeah, which is a show. Have you haven't watched any of it, have you?
I have not. I almost did because Michael Sheen's in it, and I love him. But I haven't watched it.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested in it because I've heard a lot of good buzz about it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that kid is in 9 episodes, of the recent season, it seems.
Wow.
So good on him.
Definitely check out St. Vincent. It's very endearing.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll go next of the two of us. Oh, we miss Mike. Anyway.
Yeah.
So I watched the pilot episode of Better Call Saul.
Yeah.
Months and months and months after it aired.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted to watch more, but I could only watch the pilot episode. I only had time for that. But it's interesting. I was kind of just, I wasn't even really gonna see the show. I wasn't even probably gonna even bother with watching the show. I felt like Breaking Bad, and we did a whole series of episodes on the final episodes. You can find early in the podcast feed on iTunes or wherever. And so I won't bore you with that, but I felt less emotionally connected to the Breaking Bad finale as you and Mike did. Not to say that I didn't like it. I loved the finale and I loved Breaking Bad, but I didn't feel like that big, like, I didn't feel like that. I didn't have like a Lost style connection to the end of the show.
Yeah.
So in saying that, I felt like as soon as, anytime a show ends, there's always talk, no matter what show it is, there's always talk like, oh, we're going to do a spinoff show, or maybe they'll do a spinoff show that's just this character. And I'm always like, okay, guys, stop milking it.
Yeah.
It's over. Be done with it. And that's kind of the attitude I had with Better Call Saul when it was announced and everything. I just thought, Vince Gilligan created this universe, and it contains one of the strongest acted and written characters that I've seen in Walter White. Let it rest with the end of that story.
Yeah.
There's no real reason to revisit that universe. That story was told, and it was told spectacularly well. So that's how I came into Better Call Saul as a show. And I think it really worked in my favor that I waited this long to watch it because, let's see, the Breaking Bad finale was 2 years ago? And I'm just now watching Better Call Saul, which premiered earlier this year, I think. And yeah, like January, February. And so while watching the premiere of Better Call Saul, 2 things struck me. One, the series itself opens with a scene of such emotion that I did not see it coming. Because I don't want to spoil it or anything, but that opening scene it's a black and white scene that shows the character. and the perspective that the character is coming from, and the perspective that the character that the audience is viewing him from is steeped in mystery for the most part. Like, we don't know, going into the show, we don't know what's going on. We don't know what the character is up to. We don't know anything. And just when it reaches the end of that scene before the title card comes up for Better Call Saul, I was just so surprisingly affected by the emotion in that scene. I was just really amazed by the way it was handled. And then we get the Better Call Saul title card, and then we get Saul Goodman before he's Saul Goodman. We get Jimmy McGill doing his court thing for a few teenagers on a public defense. He's a public defender for these 3 teenagers, and he's giving this Saul Goodman closing argument kind of thing, or opening argument. I don't know what it is, but he's giving his whole thing, and then it's revealed what they did. Like, he's saying, like, the important thing to remember is no one got hurt here. No one was hurt. There was no harm done to anyone, and he's playing up this angle of it. And then the way that it's revealed what case he's defending is through a videotape, and I won't give away what it is, but like, from that moment I was like, oh, this show's gonna be something. Because holy crap, it was just so it was the dark comedy that that Breaking Bad at its best was.
Yeah. And
it just in that moment, and it was so satisfying to me. And so from there, it's the episode it's cultivating its own direction from Breaking Bad. It's not
nice.
It's in the Breaking Bad universe, and there were some things that I was like, okay, that's a little much. I just want to hear about Jimmy McGill, his storyline and everything.
Yeah.
But man, I'm looking forward to watching more.
Nice.
Because it was an interesting experience, and I will say two last things, and then we'll go to you for what is your last one, I believe.
Yeah, last one.
So one thing is that I forgot how unique the cinematography and direction that went into Breaking Bad, that kind of Vince Gilligan flair. I forgot how unique that style was. Yeah. Because the way the camera, the way that the shots are framed, and the way that lighting is handled, and the way that just the direction is done throughout the entire episode is just. And Vince Gilligan actually directed the pilot. The way that everything is just set up is just. I mean, it's a master class of filmmaking and cinematography for television, no less. So
wow.
It's it was a really good entry point to what I hope will be a satisfying TV series going forward.
Nice.
Yeah. Whew, that was a lot of words.
Nice. Yeah, I really just didn't want to get hooked on another show. That's why I didn't watch it.
Yeah.
I know I will eventually, but
right.
Yeah.
That's the thing that I was kind of thinking was like, it would be cool to just, let Better Call Saul do its thing. Let it run through in 5 years or something. Not even rewatch Breaking Bad, but let Better Call Saul do its thing, run its course, end however it's going to end in 5 or 6 years, and then watch it from the beginning for the first time, and then rewatch Breaking Bad.
Wow!
I thought that would be cool, but then I oopsied that plan last night.
Yeah,
or the other night.
Right.
Yeah. So I'll report back with more thoughts. Probably when I finish the first season, I'll report back on a future episode.
Cool.
On the first season of Better Call Saul. So, Tiny, nice. What is your last bit of potpourri for this episode?
My last entry is also television.
Nice.
It is the premiere of The Bastard Executioner, which is created and run by Matt's favorite showrunner.
Oh, yeah.
Kurt Sutter.
Not a fan.
Yeah, I know.
Just so not a fan. Okay, I've heard people tweet and you talk about The Bastard Executioner. I have no frame of reference for what this is. I'm basically a cord cutter pretty much, so I haven't been keeping up with ads or anything. So what is The Bastard Executioner?
It's basically about a former soldier for Great Britain. It takes place in the 1600s, 1400. I don't even know. 1400s, 1600s. The guy's a former soldier, either for the Welsh or the English. I don't even remember, to be honest with you. It's not very clear. And he's kind of trying to make his way, just as a regular farmer, just as a lowest totem pole person on the fiefdom and the serfdom nature of the British economy of the Middle Ages or whatever.
Sure.
That was the middle of the whole serf peon. I don't know what you call it. The feudal system.
Yeah.
So he's just trying to be a farmer and make his way and have his family and whatever, live in peace. And at the time, the Welsh and the British are fighting each other or something. I don't know. Like I said, it's not very clear. But all the countrymen, the regular serfs or peons are have to pay fealty and pay taxes to the lords and stuff like that. And it's a very unfair system, and it's kind of a master slave scenario, and it's just a dark time in history. And so all these people are rebelling against the barons or lords or whatever they're called. I don't know. The premiere did a very poor job of setup, if you couldn't tell. And it's just not a part of history I know a lot about. But so it's kind of about that, and it sets up the first season kind of sets up, or I'm sorry, the first episode kind of sets up the trajectory of the series, like any good premiere does. But it was a 2-hour premiere. And I feel like they kind of just like sprinted through this whole story and got to the end to set up the series. And I think it may have been a little bit more interesting to just let the first season be this story as opposed to just the premiere.
Wow.
Because it just does not set up any of the characters very well. They're all very, you have a very distant connection to all the characters, including the main one. And everything is just so rushed. They just sprinted through the story to set up the series, and at the end, this guy becomes an executioner of a castle, if you will, which is a certain area. A castle rules a certain area.
Okay. Yeah. I thought you were gonna be sarcastic and be like, a castle is like a structure.
No.
But yeah, like a castle, like a.
They refer to it as castle whatever, and they're talking about a whole area,
Right.
So this guy kind of sort of assumes a different identity and becomes like an executioner or a punisher for this castle, the exact people that he's trying to work against and revolt against. And it's all pretty predictable and everything, but just nothing, literally nothing of the entire premiere stuck out as particularly noteworthy or quality or unique. It was all just very generic. I mean, it was like a store brand show. I really did not care for it at all. I almost turned it off in the first 30 minutes. I stuck with it just because I wanted to have something to talk about, and I wanted to have something to talk about on the podcast. I think it's I want to try to follow the show just to talk about it on the podcast, and I think it's going to turn into me hating it. I'm just going to end up giving it so much shit whenever I talk about it on the podcast. But I don't know, maybe it'll find a stride somewhere and it'll be not terrible. There'll be something interesting to watch. I didn't latch on to any of the characters, and the story was just so muddled and imprecise that I couldn't get behind any of it. And it just nothing was concrete. It was just so spread out, and I just have no idea what's going on. It was just so mediocre. I really didn't like it. But tune back, and I'll keep telling you what happens because I don't know why. It just was not good.
Wow, it
wasn't good.
If I'm reading IMDb correctly, it is available on Amazon Prime Instant Video.
Yeah.
So I might check it out, and I might, see what the non-fuss is about.
Yeah, it was not good.
Interesting. Yeah, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Speaking of Amazon Prime, by the way, I don't know. I'm hoping that I'll get this episode up Thursday, but if you're listening to this the day it releases, on Friday of this week, the 25th probably,
yes,
Amazon Prime is actually going to be $67 as opposed to $99. So that's a year subscription to Amazon Prime. And this is not an ad for Amazon Prime. We have no connection to Amazon Prime. I'm just saying as a user of Amazon Prime myself, it's worth it for the $99 a year for me. But yeah, if you're listening to this in time, you can get it at a discount.
Nice. I did not know that. I'm going to do that.
Yeah, I think that it's only for like new users, but I think that there's a loophole that if you are a user, like I could go get it. I could go buy it as a gift for someone, and then just like get it would be like an Amazon gift card.
Oh, really?
It'd be like a new registry, so I could get like that loophole will get me the discount for it, so I can just get it, disconnect my auto renewal, and then when my Amazon Prime expires, just use the gift card for Amazon Prime.
Nice.
For $33 off.
Sweet.
Yeah, so I might do that because I'm cheap. But I have no money, so who knows?
Right.
So anyway, yeah. So we'll follow up on that probably.
Cool.
To round us out for this episode of The Obsessive Viewer, I have I don't know how much I'm going to actually talk about this because I've only seen 3 episodes, but I know that you watched a lot of it, or you watched all of it actually. But season 2 of Silicon Valley.
Yes.
I've seen 3 episodes of it, and it's good, but I'm kind of just, about it.
Really?
Yeah, I understand that the guy that played Peter in the show, the kind of the rich guy that was funding them, he died during production of season 1.
Yeah.
So they introduced a new character in his place in season 2, and it feels like she's doing that. Not that same like shtick that he did so well, but it seems like she's trying to do this weird genius socially strange thing, and it's not quite landing for me. And then some of the comedy is, the comedy's solid all around, but I'm just maybe I'm just in the mood whenever I see it because I'm kind of just like. All right, that was one episode of Silicon Valley. I'll come back and see it tomorrow or something.
Yeah. I wasn't crazy about her character either. She's very forgettable and just very they're trying to make her too much like the other character.
Yeah.
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 So I agree with you on that. But I still think I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah. The comedy, like I said, is solid, but I'm just kind of, I don't know, something about it. I'm just not really, I'm having a hard time latching onto it.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, so like I said with the other stuff, I'll report back on it in a future episode, and we'll see.
Cool.
Yeah, so that does it for this episode of The Obsessive Viewer. Thank you for listening. We'll go to our pre-recorded outro. Tiny, do you have any final thoughts for the episode?
I do not.
Okay, you should be hearing the closing music, and yeah, we're done pretty much. Thanks for listening. That was horrible.
Oh my god.
Why did I do that?
Wow.
I have no idea why I did that.
I don't know.
Yeah. All right. Well, that does it for us then.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys. Last night I watched the pilot. Wow, I just realized we haven't talked at all about the Emmys.
No, we haven't. Who cares?
Yeah, who cares? Emmys happened. Yeah, I don't. We can take this brief tangent to talk about you. I don't feel like we watched the Oscars together, and
yeah.
I mean, the Oscars are cool. They're big awards ceremony and everything, but I never take stock in awards recognition or anything, and I just it's more just a show to watch, and the Emmys, I had a vested interest in the Emmys because like Netflix in particular had a lot of nominations, and the reason that I started ObsessiveViewer.com is because Netflix was jumping into original programming, and I love seeing that expand so much and see how the television and movie culture is changing for the better, in my opinion. And that still doesn't get me to watch the Emmys. I followed along on Twitter. I read the tweets. I looked up. I was refreshing slashfilm.com's like nominees and winners page, but I couldn't be bothered to watch it, and I don't know, maybe I'm just old.
Yeah, I don't care. I didn't care about it. I don't even know who won anything. I haven't looked it up. I don't care.
Yeah. So anyway, I want to spring this on you before we finish, Tiny.
Okay.
There was a thread on Ask Reddit today that I was reading while I was waiting for you to get here. It was if HBO did what historical event or time period would you want HBO to make a TV series of?
World War I.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought I was going to just put you on the spot for it, and you were going to have to think about it and all that. Nice.
Yeah, I'd say World War I.
Nice.
Very underappreciated and understudied event in world history.
The sequel gets all the attention. Yeah.
Bigger villain.
Right.
Yeah. That's what I'd say.
Oh, nice. There were some really cool responses. Like, check out that thread. I'll link it to you in the pod chat, and I'll put it in the show notes of this episode.
Cool.
But yeah, I would probably say one of the answers was the fall of like the Aztec Empire.
Oh, that'd be cool.
That'd be interesting.
I'd watch that.
Yeah. There are a bunch of other ones. So
nice.
The Crusades, the Black Plague.
Yeah.
A bunch of stuff. So anyway, I just wanted to, throw that out there.
I like it.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to The Obsessive Viewer, presented by ObsessiveViewer.com. You can find more of our episodes at ovpodcast.com, and you can subscribe to the show on iTunes, Stitcher, or your preferred podcast app. The Obsessive Viewer's theme song is An Eclipse of Events and is provided by Loudlike from their EP Mistakes We Must Make. You can find that and more great music from them on iTunes and like their Facebook page at facebook.com/loudlikemusic. Any and all feedback on the podcast is encouraged. You can email the hosts individually at Matt, Tiny, or Mike at obsessiveviewer.com or send an email to the podcast in general at podcast@obsessiveviewer.com. Check out the Obsessive Viewer blog at obsessiveviewer.com, where we post movie and TV reviews and the occasional editorial about the business of entertainment. You can also like us on Facebook at facebook.com/theobsessiveviewer and follow us on Twitter at obsessiveviewer, at obsessivetiny, and at IamMikeWhite. If you want more obsessive content in your life, check out our sister site, obsessivebooknerd.com, for book reviews, author spotlights, and a general celebration of reading. Finally, if you're philosophically curious, check out Tiny's side project podcast, The Secular Perspective, which explores the concepts of faith, religion, and existence from the perspective of secular hosts. You can find that at thesecularperspective.com and subscribe to the podcast on the podcatcher of your choice. Again, thank you so much for listening. We love you. Be excellent to each other.
I had to pee so bad.